Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I've got an exciting battle report for you today in Warhammer the Old World. My probably fourth or fifth game trying out the new rules system that they gave us here. Well, not new rules system, the rules update is what I should say. Some big changes came in. Magic kind of got toned down a little bit in terms of wizard casting level. Some of the spells got increases. A couple did actually get decreases in casting values. A couple of spells also got tweaked. The biggest change is probably that infantry get an additional fighting rank when it comes to close combats, and I think they also get an additional +1 for combat resolution. I'm not going to go over all the changes right now, but just kind of wanted to emphasize that even though it's not necessarily a new rule system, some big updates have come to Warhammer the Old World in terms of rules here, as well as finally getting a new faction for the game that we haven't seen. I think Ogre Kingdoms came out in like, what, 2008, 2006 or something like that. It's been a long time since we've gotten an official new army. So these are exciting times for Warhammer the Old World. I figured I'd come back to the channel with a proper battle report here. But as I mentioned, this is only my like 5th game or so trying out these new rule updates. So expect me to make some errors along the way. Feel free to point them out in the comments and I'll try to learn from those and make sure we improve for our next game. But with all that stuff out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the game itself here. This is going to be my first game actually on the channel featuring my Orcs and Goblins army. I did a hobby video about a month or two back, kind of showcasing all the minis and stuff I painted up and made for the army, but I haven't actually got them in a proper video battle here. So this will be their first one. I'm going to put the spells that I rolled up on the screen here. I do have a level 4 Goblin Shaman, and this is what he's going to be working with. And my opponent today is the Warriors of Chaos. This is a Chaos army. For people who have been watching my videos for a decent chunk of time will have seen actually like all the way back in 8th edition battle reports that I did before we even got Old World. And yeah, when Old World came out, we got plenty of games in as well, and I featured a few of those on the channel here too. But yep, this will be our first battle with the new rules update. And if you've noticed a theme with this Warriors of Chaos player, he tends to like to take a lot of actual Warriors of Chaos in his army, as well as Chosen. So I think with this new rule update really buffing up infantry, he's going to be stronger than ever on the battlefield today. If you saw my hobby video with the Orcs and Goblins, either way I'll talk about it now. I do have some infantry units as well. I got a pretty hardy unit of Black Orcs that will be benefiting from that infantry rule, hopefully as well. And yeah, I will see if I can kind of adjust to those changes that they made to Magic over the course of this game. Luckily, my opponent doesn't really have a wizard or anything. He's a very devout follower of Khorne, so he doesn't believe in any of that magic or range nonsense. He takes pure melee, and that's what's going to be coming at me here. I'm sure you've noticed in a lot of my battle reports, we like to have a lot of terrain on the battlefield, but we figured since each of us are kind of coming in learning some new stuff with the rules update that Old World got, let's keep it nice and simple. We do have a couple of hills, a few buildings tucked off to the far side. That watchtower in the center there, we put like a little princess that's trapped in the watchtower, but yeah, that is just there for basically terrain. It's not a battle for the watchtower scenario where you get bonus victory points or anything for that. This is just going to be a standard battle where you get victory points for routing, killing units, capturing banners, killing generals, etc. So we have both of the armies deployed now. Kind of fair to say we both focused our deployment and battle line in the center of the battlefield, kind of working around that watchtower. Obviously, I have some rock lobbers, a couple of goblin archers, and a wizard, so, you know, he wants to close the gap as quick as possible. I kind of want to maintain my line and just get as much of a range advantage as I can, chip down as many Warriors of Chaos as possible. My first turn barrage against the Chaos Warriors was a little bit underwhelming. I think my rock lobbers pick off maybe one of the Chosen, and if you can see, it's hard to see in the photos right now, but you'll see it later on. He has a giant Chaos spawn, and it's like this giant mound of lava. It's a hilarious model. I think my wizard did a nasty glare at the spawn and did a wound to it as well. On turn 2 here, the Warriors of Chaos continue their relentless advance towards me. He's got his little Chaos Hound things there. They're flesh hounds leading the charge. And the actual Warriors themselves are not too far behind. As you can see, he made a lot of progress on these first 2 turns moving up the board. He's definitely past the halfway point, and on my turn 2, I'm going to spread out my lines a little bit. I'm going to take the bait on that unit of hounds that have clearly come forward and plan to cause some redirecting shenanigans with my army. I'm going to send the Mangler Squig in at them, and he's going to gobble up all of them but one. My plan is to have the Warriors charge in. They'll probably kill my Mangler Squig, which is kind of a net benefit for the Warriors, but my hope is I can have the Squig Hoppers, and if I need to, have my General countercharge his unit, and I figure as long as I manage to kill that unit of Chaos Warriors, it'll be a net benefit on my end, you know. Sacrifice the big Squig, and he'll sacrifice the Hounds. We'll see who comes out on top when it comes to that little flank battle. Meanwhile, over on the main battle lines, it is turning into absolute chaos. I have released all of my Fanatics. I think I had 5 total. I managed to get good rolls on almost all of them. I think 3 out of 5 made contact with the enemy. And as you can see from the picture here, 2 of the other ones kind of placed themselves in dangerous positions for the advancing Warrior of Chaos block. There's also, I think it's the Foot of Gork template ability. I made a mistake. I thought it was the small template, and it's actually the large template. I imagine that would hit my Fanatics and probably the Warriors right now, but we didn't know that, and we played it with the small template for the rest of this game. So just know that when you see it in the pictures from this point on, that is that template ability. But I'm mentioning this because it's scattered and it's like right in front of that advancing chaos block. So they got a lot of dangerous shit in front of them. So they're going to have to make a tough call if it's worth charging through all of that to make contact with my line. The Fanatics, I think I got the photo before the rolls were made on a few of the units here. But they plowed through the Chaos Hounds and only one remains. I think he got an amazing roll on the leadership test for that thing, so it's going to stick around. A ton of the Marauders are going to get peeled through, and unfortunately for my opponent, I felt bad doing this genuinely. His giant Chaos spawn is going to just get smashed to bits by these Fanatics. Now, it wasn't just the Fanatics. As I mentioned, my Wizard was kind of targeting him with a lot of spells on the first 2 turns here. I might have even put a rock lobber on him, and I might have even had the archers even do their volleys at him as well. So he soaked up like pretty much all the first 2 rounds of shooting. A little bit of artillery shots did go on the Chosen, but yeah, majority went onto that giant chaos spawn. So he can die proud knowing he absorbed a lot of damage this turn, but it was tragic to see him go before he could actually do much in the game. Such is the life of many big monsters on the battlefields of Warhammer. Despite all these perilous obstacles I laid out for the Chaos advancing line here, he just charges right through them, and sure enough, he actually makes contact with my archer line. All of those scrapped units of Marauders, the Hound, and the slightly damaged block of Warriors managed to charge in, and he's also charging my Mangler Squig on the other side of the battlefield. And the only thing I really kind of got working for me at this point, all of the stuff I had in the way of that Warrior block kind of just flubbed on its damage capability. But the template did manage to scatter in front of the Chosen, and some of my Fanatics managed to kind of scatter around them as well. And I think that's kind of stalling the advance of that unit, and he's got a character, his general in there as well, so that's kind of the only thing I got working for me right now, is that his most expensive unit's kind of stalled up in the back. So kind of unsurprisingly, he does make the charge on my Mangler Squig here, and it's a fairly easy kill for him. The part that was surprising for me was he got an incredible overrun roll, and he manages to go right into my squig hoppers. Well, yeah, this wasn't part of the plan. I want to say there was some bad random movement rolls that I got there. Like, maybe, I'm trying to remember, hindsight's 2020 here. I might have, like, wanted to have the squig hoppers charge in before he even did the counter charge on my mangler. I really don't remember the series of events, but I want to say they rolled really poorly on one of their random movements, and that's kind of what resulted in me trying to set up this counter charge and, like, leaving the certain amount of distance I did. I think I lacked confidence that they would get the roll when I needed it to, so I left them, like, maybe 10 inches or something like that away from the combat that was about to happen, not expecting the Warriors of Chaos to roll so freaking high and then get me in this freaking pinch of a situation. But it's not over. I believe my general is within range of a counter charge of his own, and that could easily sway this combat in my favor, even though I've kind of put myself in a real shitty position here. Now, I didn't get a ton of photos of the actual fight here, but where the Warriors of Chaos charged into my Night Goblin Archer unit, actually, it wasn't just the Chaos Warriors, the remainder of the Marauders and the Lone Chaos Hound also charged into this combat. They delete half of my unit when they make contact here. I don't think I get many wounds back. My unit loses morale, flees through my Black Orc unit, and I don't think they're going to do much for the remainder of this battle, but I do get lucky when it comes to rallying those guys. They manage to rally before they run off the table edge. Meanwhile, the Warriors, all those guys, decide to pursue, and they clash into the Black Orc unit that was positioned right behind the Archers. So all things considered, that was not too bad a turn for the Warriors of Chaos. At the start of my turn, the template kind of favorably starts scattering towards the Warriors of Chaos that are fighting those Black Orcs. So if I win that combat, they're obviously going to back up into it, and I don't mind that happening. One of my fanatics there, you can see it's right near my giant mob of Night Goblins on the hill. He's going to scatter right into my mob of Night Goblins and flatten, like, he's going to splatter, like, yep, 3 of my guys there, which is just fantastic. I hate to say it, too. I think he's the only one that's going to do anything notable for the rest of the game. My remaining fanatics are either going to end up killing themselves by accident when they roll doubles or scatter into a piece of terrain. And I think I have one that just kind of just randomly wanders off into a random area of the battlefield and doesn't do anything for the rest of the game. So really not too much notable stuff's going to happen with them other than some friendly fire situations. Now, unfortunately, I'm missing a couple of photos here, but what happened on the flank battle there, where the Warriors of Chaos got the overrun charge onto my squig hoppers, was my general did charge in and get a flank charge. He kills a lot of the squig hoppers, but my general tears apart the flank of the unit. Squig hoppers managed to do a lot of damage, and basically he's going to back up and give a lot of ground. I decide to have my general pivot and face, as you can see in the picture here, towards the combat where the Black Orcs are about to fight the Warriors of Chaos. I figured I wasn't going to beat them in one round, and I'll just have him there in case I do end up giving some ground. He can come in and save the day, just like he did with the squig hoppers. I will say I kind of ended up regretting this decision, and you'll see why later in the battle. The Warriors of Chaos are fighting my Black Orcs this turn, and even though they did count as getting the charge here, and they have a lot of attacks, they really don't end up getting that much damage in. I think they end up killing 2 to 3 Black Orcs at most. It looks like 2 from the photo here, and he ends up taking a significant amount of losses. I have a VSB in the unit, I have rank, and yeah, the combat res was not in his favor. He doesn't end up breaking in morale, but he does give a lot of ground, as you can see in the picture here. And kind of annoyingly as well, we got that template and the random fanatic in the way of my chariot making that charge that I wanted to set up. So yeah, the scatters weren't too favorable on that one. I did follow up when the Warriors gave ground on the flank there, and you can see the squig hoppers are still pretty decent in numbers, and there aren't many Chaos Warriors left, but it's actually going to end up being a really brutal slog on the flank there for the remainder of this game between those 2 units. And I'm not exactly sure. The Warriors might have actually lost their morale instead of giving ground there because they didn't end up moving a whole lot, which is why I say I think they maybe had to rally at the start of this turn. So it might have been that, or maybe he just wanted the Chosen to get in there instead of the Warriors. But what ends up happening is the Warriors kind of maintain that relative position that they were in earlier, and the Chosen advance up very quickly towards my Goblin line. You can see here in the photo I have another Mangler Squig that has been working his way up the opposite flank of the battlefield the whole game, kind of hiding behind the rear of the Chosen block, threatening them the whole game with, you don't know, I might charge you. And he ended up rolling really low on his random movement this turn and saw a nearby fleeing Marauder chieftain and decided to gobble him up. So it's my turn here, and, you know, I probably should have ended up making the charges on that Warrior of Chaos unit here with my Black Orcs and my boss on the Chariot. But I had that template right in front of them, and I had that Fanatic right in front of them, and it kind of deterred me from doing so. And I figured, screw it, let's do one more turn of magic and rock lobbing, and maybe those archers in the back got a couple of shots off, but it really didn't do a whole lot, and I think my hesitation might have cost me an opportunity at an easy victory. But you never know. There was a lot of distance between us as well, so it would have been a hard charge to make. But what does end up happening is my hesitation has arguably cost me my unit of Night Goblins on the hill there. He combined charges them with his Warriors of Chaos and the Chosen. And man, does he cleave down a lot of goblins that turn, as you can see up from the photo here. I think that's how many casualties we took, and that unit's going to end up breaking in morale and probably just running off the board if he doesn't end up cleaving down the last couple. Now, unfortunately for the Chaos Warrior, you can see from the photo here, during his overrun, and I want to say this was the last turn, he ends up like an inch shy of overrunning into my Rock Lobber, which would have been some nice extra points for the Warriors of Chaos to grab up in the final turn, but no such luck for them. They'll have to settle on slaughtering like 30 Night Goblins instead. The final thing of note was on the far flank, I think what ended up happening was the Warriors of Chaos ended up losing a round of combat and giving ground, and it finally lined up that my turn would be following up afterwards. And the Squig Hoppers stood their ground, got a good roll on their random movement, and managed to gobble up the last of the Chaos Warriors and win that battle. But the reason I was saying I think I kind of messed up is my general ended up hesitating on those charges on the side there, and what ended up happening was my unit went from keeping all of its points and being in a good position to getting whittled down, and yeah, they did kill the Chaos Warrior block at the end, but there's only a couple remaining, and I ended up giving him a good chunk of points, I think, because of that. If I had my general just continue with a follow-up there, I would have been able to preserve their numbers, and who knows, maybe I would have been able to get him hustling over to the other side of the battlefield a little bit quicker and help on the main battle line. But that's, as I said earlier, that's kind of like a hindsight thing. It is what it is, and, you know, it's easy to look back on things and be critical of them. I want to say that during my final turn, the Black Orcs tried to get a charge off on the Warriors of Chaos that were nearby, but they probably just ended up flubbing their roll. Maybe my general did the same thing, trying to make a long bomb charge, but ended up failing his thing. And yeah, really the only thing notable was that little battle with the Warriors and the Squigs on that last turn from my side. And yeah, as you can see from the photo here, these are all of my surviving Orcs and Goblins. Definitely took a lot of casualties, but Warriors of Chaos took a lot of casualties as well. And we added up the points. I ended up having 97 victory points over the Warriors of Chaos, but as you know, in Warhammer the Old World, that is not enough to actually call the game a victory. You need at least 200 victory points over your opponent in order to achieve the status of a victory. So in terms of the books, we're going to register this one as a tie, and it was a really bloody good game. We lost a lot of men on each side, The Warriors of Chaos Infantry are definitely looking a lot stronger than the last time I went up against them with these new rules. I will say, though, I mean, you know, you saw them charge in to my Black Orc unit there, and my Black Orcs are also a hell of a lot stronger, too, now because of these new changes. So, kind of goes both ways. I think that it is nice to see infantry really getting a chance to shine here, but one of the other test games I did was with Dwarven Thunderers, and they have the option to take shields and heavy armor, which means with the new saves in close combat, you're going to be getting a 3-up save, and that felt pretty brutal to me. So I don't know. I'm curious if these changes are going to be maybe too drastic. I know a lot of other players, even before they made these changes, would run like huge blocks of infantry, and those are only going to be stronger in this new edition. So we'll have to see if it's going to stay the course here. I don't necessarily think I dislike any of the changes that I saw here. I got a good amount of spells off during the game, but there were definitely a few that should have gone off in the prior edition that no longer did because of the way that my bonuses apply to being a level 4 wizard now. And also, and again, I don't think this is a bad thing per se. With the changes to caster level affecting the spell roll, there were actually a lot more opportunities for that Desperate D spell that my opponent has to come into play. And I want to say on at least 2 turns during the game, he managed to shut down one of my spells with that. And I feel like when I was playing the older version of the old world, that would maybe come into effect 1 turn out of the game if the opponent was lucky. It was more like something that would come into play once in a while during the games you play. It wasn't like a guaranteed thing. So I think that's kind of a positive that I'll say in terms of the magic changes. It gives that like rule a little bit more opportunity to come into effect for the game. But overall, it definitely is looking a little bit harder for Wizards. I want to get a few more games in under my belt before I kind of get a little bit too critical on any of these changes with all of you on YouTube here. I kind of like the changes. I don't think anything seems too bad. I definitely want to test things out a little bit more, though, before I kind of give it a full pass. I also will say here, I know this doesn't quite relate to the video, but I got a couple of games against Cathay in under my belt, and it seems like a really fun army. I got some travel plans and other things I got to do over the next couple of weeks, so this might be like a month in advance here, like when this is going to end up happening, but I definitely want to start a Cathay army. I think it seems like a lot of fun to play. The Sky Lanterns are really cool. I think they need to be good given what the army roster is looking like right now. Like, they really do kind of provide the hitting damage potential the army needs. But I can definitely see how spamming a lot of those would be incredibly annoying to play against. So it's kind of like a finite line of, like, I think taking 1 or 2 of them is totally fine. And, like, the army arguably kind of needs that in order to perform efficiently. But it's also one of those things where, like, if I was going to a tournament or something and, like, someone brought 4 or 5 of those things, I'd probably be sighing and be like, oh, it's going to be a miserable game. So, yeah, they're interesting. The infantry are good at holding the line, but I wouldn't say they have a bunch of damage potential unless you're willing to invest a lot of points into additional characters for the unit. I feel the same way about the cavalry. It's serviceable, but, like, it really won't shine until you put a lot into it. Like, it's going to be, like, a 10, 12-man unit with, like, a character or something in it. But definitely, like, not bad cavalry. At least middle tier, if not a little bit better than, like, the average, like, heavy cav unit you're going to get in this game. And what else? Oh, their sorcerer character that rides on, like, a smaller dragon. That's another, like, top-tier unit, I think, for Cathay. I'll end it there. I haven't fought the dragon yet, but yeah, I did see the Sentinel's pretty cool. I did see most of the roster in play in the 2 games that I participated in. And yeah, I think they seem like a really fun army. A good mix of a Dwarven gunline play style with their artillery, and then having more of an Empire, but slightly higher tier hold the line infantry line, and then some hit and run tactics with the Sky Lanterns, kind of like Wood Elves, and then like high elf tier kind of magic with like these always strike first hybrid combat wizard lords. So yeah, really cool play style mix of like a bunch of like the good factions all together into one. And yeah, I look forward to starting an army. I'm hoping to do that soon, and I'll try to get some of the progress on that documented here on the channel with some hobby videos. So keep an eye out for that. I wanted to do originally, my next video was going to be Mordheim related, but I've just been kind of overwhelmed with work lately, and I haven't had the time to dedicate towards like setting up a nice board and getting proper video footage for all the Mordheim related content I wanted to do. So that might come out first before the Cathay stuff. We'll have to see. Keep an eye out. I'll try to do some posts and keep you all updated as I make progress on all those videos. But that's going to do it for this one, folks. Have a great day, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.